Hi there, critical incident. I wanted to move away from merely writing about critical incidents and tried to do a video blog entry. So this is about saying I don't know in the classroom, which has been a tricky subject for me. It probably started in my first practice lesson during the CELTA training, where I was trying to explain a comparative structure at the board, and somebody asked me a question, and I knew what the answer was, but I was feeling a bit anxious, and instead of explaining the grammar point, I moved on and just pretended I didn't hear what the student had asked me because I felt very anxious. And I think this slowly built over a number of years, where I would specifically not teach the students difficult grammar points because I lacked confidence and I wanted to avoid feeling anxious in the classroom. So saying I don't know became quite a big thing for me in the classroom. I didn't want to say it because I thought the students would lose their trust in me, would maybe walk out the classroom, and this seeped into my subconscious and became something quite overwhelming, to the point where I started to get the classic teacher stress dream, where I'm dreaming and I'm looking for the room I need to teach in, and I haven't got any materials and I don't have a clue what I'm teaching, and that's how the dream keeps on going. And I wake up feeling very tired and stressed, and I think this led to quite a lot of anxiety, which I know a lot of teachers suffer with. I actually went to therapy, and amongst other things I did talk about this issue. And the therapist said to me, what would happen if you said I don't know in the class? And I went through the scenario in my head of what I thought might happen, and she said, why don't you try it? Why don't you just say, I don't know? The next day came an opportunity, and a student asked me a question about grammar. And I said, I don't know. As you can see, I'm reacting to the very fact of it now by touching myself different places. I said I didn't know, and the students just nodded their head, and I was very aware of their reactions. Of course, I didn't simply say I don't know. I also said I'll find out for them, and they seemed completely happy with that answer. That night, I had the dream again. It was worse than ever. I was walking through mud, through glue, through honey, in a new building, trying to find my classroom. Didn't have any materials, and when I finally got there, there was a burst water main in the room, and so there's water pouring into the room, and there were some students were missing, some new students, some old students, and I just said, oh, the lesson's cancelled, which was an answer of sorts. And I woke up immediately, and I felt jubilant. And I've never had it since, this terrible dream. What's happened recently is my Achilles heel is teaching relative pronouns and relative clauses, because I can't, and I still can't, can't explain the difference between what and which. Yeah, and I still can't. So this seemed like a critical incident in the classroom, having the confidence to say I don't know, and also having the confidence to look at issues surrounding the subject. So I've looked at a number of different sources. I've looked at some websites. One, The Best Teacher on WordPress.com, which says, what if students ask a question and I don't know? And they said that not knowing doesn't matter. It's what you do when you don't know. That's important. It offers the advice, don't panic. Not knowing doesn't make you a bad teacher. It means that your students... It doesn't mean your students think you're incompetent. It doesn't mean you're going to get fired. And the best thing to do is not to panic. Because if you panic, you kill the ability to think clearly. I thought that was quite interesting. So these are different ways that I have avoided saying I don't know. I've changed the subject, which I did this week, when relative clauses came up with my upper intermediate class. I didn't ignore it, but I did say, we'll look at that later. And then I said we'd come back to it. I'd see how we did in the test, which was on a Friday. And I knew that ignoring it would be dissatisfactory, wouldn't be satisfactory for the students. I avoided making up an answer on the spot, which I thought was important, which I thought was really important. Although it's very tempting, it will inevitably come back to bite you on the bum, and lead to further questions. And on the test, the same students kept on having the same problems between which and what. So I said I'd do some research and I'd come back to them. And in the past, I have also used a guided discovery. Done some guided discovery by asking the students to work in it for themselves, but this still required me to answer fielded questions as well, and I'm not completely comfortable with what to do with that. What I haven't asked the students to do is look at the grammar explanation, because, to be honest, in the New Headway 4th edition, I find this extremely complicated, and if I can't understand it, well, the students might be able to, but it's very difficult to explain. So I bought myself some time over the weekend to look at it. As I said, I tried to read the grammar, but found it extremely confusing. My next port of call was to ask people in the staff room. So I think I asked somewhere between 5 and 10 people, not only to explain it to me, but explain it to me in a way that I could explain it to the students. And lots of people seem to think that the best way to teach the students is to say that what means the thing that. Given that what and that are the same in Russian, at least I know this, that could cause further confusion. Anyway, so I have acknowledged the problem with the students. I haven't said I don't know. I have said I will find out. I know it takes courage to say I don't know. and that the students will probably appreciate this more than me just glossing over or delaying the problem. So I'm trying to find out, and I'm trying to follow through, which is advice given in reflective practice, Mann and Walsh, reflective practice in ELT, where they say faking it is a natural tendency to conceal weaknesses, and it limits real reflection. I thought that was interesting. So I've asked a colleague, I've looked at grammar books, and I've looked at Google many pages, and I believe I have an idea of how I'm going to teach it. The one explanation I have found, which is also complicated, is that what has no, and excuse my pronunciation for this, no antecedent. So I'm just going to have to look further into that. But I think this is an important issue of keeping clarity and respect in the classroom. And this has dogged me for years, this specific grammar point, and I think overcoming this will be important to me as a teacher, and reflecting on the steps I've taken has also been enlightening, and hopefully should help me regarding other moments in the classroom where I have to say, I don't know, and I will get back to you is a good way to do that. Thank you.